shortly after 6:30. We'll call the meeting to order and begin with the prayer. Dear God, today as the session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing and all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk, please call the roll.
Council Samaras.
Here.
Council Belanger.
Here.
Council Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Council Leahy.
Here.
Council Leary.
Here.
Council Mercia.
Here.
Council Milonazo.
Here.
Council Rourke.
Here.
9 present.
Council Mercia. Council Leahy.
Thank you. I'd like to offer a moment of silence for Peter Gill, my uncle, father of Mary Jeffroy, Lowell High School clerk. Peter was a Highlands resident and proud of it. Peter was married 63 years to Marilyn Leahy. Together they had 7 children. He was a U.S. Navy veteran and graduate of Merrimack College. He'll be sadly missed. Thank you.
Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence for Gladys M. Coughlin, mother of City of Lowell employee Kevin Coughlin. Gladys Coughlin of Tingsville, she died January 19th, 2017 at Lowell General Hospital at the age of 96 years. She was born in Lowell on February 22nd, 1920. She was the daughter of the late Louis and Grace Dozois. She received her early education at St. Patrick's School in Lowell. She also treasured her lifelong friends made as a young trumpeter at St. Rita's Cadet Marching Band. Gladys was a graduate of Academy of Notre Dame as the first class that moved from Lowell to Tingsboro. She furthered her education at Lowell Commercial College. She earned a Bachelor's of Arts in Education from Regis College, and she also studied early childhood education at Tufts University. Gladys first began her career at Father John's Medicine, right downtown Lowell, as an office administrator. Later became the administrative assistant to the Dean of Students at Lowell Technological Institute before she retired in 1985. Gladys was involved with the Tingsboro chapter of the American Red Cross and First Aid Disaster. She also helped launch the first kindergarten program to be offered in Tingsboro. A great fan of women's basketball, Gladys was a talented player and coach in her younger days and continued to follow her beloved sport at the local, collegiate, and professional level. She is also survived by Elizabeth Coughlin, her daughter, and, of course, Kevin Coughlin, her son, along with a brother, Raymond, a niece, a nephew, 3 grandnephews, and 3 grandnephews. Gladys will be sorely missed by all of her friends and family. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council. Under the mayor's business, we have a communication requesting that City Council endorse the letter from the Lowell Sustainability Council. Jay Mason from the Lowell Sustainability Council is here to answer any questions. The chair would entertain a motion to accept the communication and refer it to the city manager for a report and recommendation. So by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Rourke. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next order of business, communication from the City Council considering that the City Council consider canceling the City Council meetings during the February and April vacations. That would be February 21st and April 18th. A motion approved by Council Samaras, seconded by Council Rourke. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? All opposed? So voted. Next, under the city clerk, we have the minutes of the Transportation Subcommittee of January 17th, the City Council meeting of January 17th for acceptance. We have a motion to accept and place on file by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Rourke. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? All opposed? So voted. Next, under communications of the city manager, we have communications A through C. The first communication is UMass Lowell Middlesex Community College and Lowell School Department discussion regarding the educational planning of the new high school. Any discussion? Council Samaras.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank the city manager for the report. It's good to see that the programs that have been at Lowell High School will be continued, and that the university and Middlesex Community College will work with the administration to assure that those programs continue. But Mr. Manager, one of the things I was thinking about, the trend is changing in the sense where community colleges are getting more involved with the high schools in preparing our students for college. So I'd like to have you deliver that message, that we'd like to see even more of an involvement with the community college and the university with the Lowell school system in preparing our students for college. It's a current trend. It does make sense. And I think this city is really in a terrific position to assure that our children get the best education possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thank you for the response, Mr. Manager. It does state the dual enrollment programs that do occur. I know it's part of tonight's educational plan to be delivered by the school committee, so that's all good stuff, so thank you.
Council Leary.
Just quickly, just to build upon that, I think that there was an excellent motion, and thank you for the timely report. I think it's imperative that we make sure that that does occur. I think Council Samaras really presented what's happening really going forward, especially as it relates to the community college. But I think as a dual enrollment program, which we've been really using successfully in Lowell and even greater Lowell, I think it's positive, and anything we can do to continue that is something that I think would be beneficial, no matter what location we finally determine for this high school. Thank you.
Any further discussion on item A? If not, we'll move on to item B, which is the wind development report regarding the proportional analysis of market rate housing versus affordable housing. Any discussion? Council Samaras.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, thank you for this report. It is a complete report, and it does address the issues that I wanted to raise. I'd like to have you explain this formula as to how they obtain their results and what the results are. Too often when we talk about having residents in the downtown, we talk about, is it market rate housing or is it subsidized housing? The trend seems to be talking about that we're going more towards subsidized housing than market rate housing. And this report seems to indicate otherwise. So I'd just like to have you give an overview of what this report states and how they arrived at the formula. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Well, basically, this is information that was, as you can see from the attached letter, was provided to us directly by the wind companies. And what they essentially say is they have 530 units of residential units in downtown Lowell. And of those 530 units, 79% of them are market rate units. That means they're unrestricted. They can rent them to any income level whatsoever. And that's a rent range of $1,500 to about $2,700. The next category, though, is they have 51 units making up 9% of the housing in downtown Lowell. And although they're not strictly market rate housing, is that they are able to rent these to a family of four that are making $71,000 or less. And they are getting a rent from approximately $1,400 to $1,800. So even though it's not unrestricted market rate, it's still getting a good rental. So the unrestricted is 79%, but there's another 9% that are getting a rent that's equated to somebody earning $71,000 a year. I do think it's a good report. I think it shows that One thing, you're paying a lot of rent to live in downtown Lowell, which is good, is that people are attracted to downtown Lowell and are willing to pay an attractive rent to be there.
Basically, you're saying that these people have disposable income?
It was 71,000. 86% of them have more than $71,000 in earnings.
All right. I mean, that's something I think that we need to use when we're marketing the city of Lowell, that it truly is, has a downtown that is something that where a small business could be successful. Thank you very much.
Council Blanchard?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Mr. Manager, thank you for the motion response, and I want to thank Wind Development, as they are our master developer at Hamilton Canal, and Wind has been on the scene for a number of years now, and they have helped, there's no doubt about it, transform aesthetically the downtown. They have renovated several old mill buildings, and they are a superb developer that does great work. There is no two ways about it. But after reading the letter dated January 17th, as to the tax credits they're going to be applying for, if, in fact, this council decides to go into that direction with housing in the Hamilton Canal. Now, they're going to be applying for his state and federal historic tax credits, state and federal low-income tax credits, and new market tax credits as well. But being very much in tune with all developments, not only in the downtown, but throughout the city, I'd like to know why Wind Development, has such the need for this gap funding, okay? Because I see Sal Lapoli on Thorndike Street doing 165 units. Market rate, no tax credits. I see David Daly, local developer, about to do a high-rise luxury condominium, 64 units, no tax credits. John DeAngelis, who's renovating the old Lowell Sun building on Kearney Square, which I'm sure all the viewers at home are familiar with, transforming that building beautifully. He's doing a tremendous job. I was just in there a couple weekends ago. He is selling luxury condominiums north of $500,000. He has approximately 8 under agreement out of 25 units, so he's on the right track there. No tax credits applied for, no assistance. Connector Park LLC on the Lowell Connector, 240 units, no tax credits. Vision Development LLC, the former Lowell Bank site, 400 beds, dormitory-style living, no tax credits. So I just don't understand how, with the size of Wind Development, they are bigger than all these developers combined times 10. Okay, their website states specifically right on it, the largest affordable care manager in the country. Okay, so I have all intentions of working with Wind Development in any way, shape, or form. But I would just like a little more clarification of why they have such the need for these tax credits to apply. I understand these developers could be costly. They're basically saying in this letter, the rents that are dictated don't justify the payment of what it's going to cost to build approximately 165 units, what they're looking to do potentially on parcels 8 and 9. So I'm sort of having difficulty with it. I am open. I would like to hear from Wind Development why this need is there when I see so many other projects going on in this city. We've got a lot of positive things going on. The market is going trending in the right direction here in the city. There's no two ways about it. So, although I am open, I would like to, have a discussion with Wind Development, and I would like an explanation as to why they have the need for such assistance when so many others do not. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll anxious to hear back from the manager as to Wind Development, so maybe it'll give me a little clarification on the issue. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on to item C. Ensure neighborhood organizations are informed on all public board meetings and their agendas. Any discussion on item C? Council Samaras.
Some motions tonight. Mr. Manager, no, that was a good report. The reason for making the report, all of us do attend many of the neighborhood meetings, and a constant question sometimes is asked, they might have missed getting an agenda of certain, whether it's a zoning meeting or meetings that are important to particular neighborhoods. So the purpose of this motion was to just, I know your administration is doing a good job getting this information out, but we just have to make sure that all the major groups, neighborhood groups, and any other type of group of constituents, that this type of information would help, that information gets to them. The more information people have, the better the results. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on item C? If not, the chair would entertain a motion to accept and file the communications from the city manager relative to motion responses by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Moving on to votes from the city manager. The first vote is authorizing the city manager to enter into a license agreement with Dave Daly, trustee of Kennedy Waterfront Trust, 229 7th Street in Lowell, Mass., for the use of the city of Lowell property, to wit, 1 East Merrimack Street, for access to 21 Davidson Street to cut water lines servicing the licensee's building. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading, go to the second reading. Authorizing the city manager to enter into a license agreement with David Daly, trustee of Kennedy Waterfront Trust at 229 7th Street in Lowell, Massachusetts, for use of the city of Lowell property, to wit, 1 East Merrimack Street, for access to 21 Davidson Street to cut water lines servicing the licensee's building. Do we have a motion approved by Council Elliott, seconded by Council Leary? Discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Council Samaras.
Yes?
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
yes,
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Nine yeas.
Next is a vote to transfer the amount of $85,055 for the demolition of 16 Hampshire Street. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the first reading in order to transfer $85,055 of funds for the demolition of 16 Hampshire Street. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Rourke. Discussion on the motion, Council Mercia.
thank you, through you to the city manager. Was the previous 21,800 part of the demolition fee too?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Mercier. No, this was a transfer that was executed by the council earlier. This fiscal year, it was for some other urban development work. It wasn't specific to the property on Hampshire Street.
Okay, I didn't know where that was going. I thought maybe this was added to it, but it isn't, so, all right, thank you.
Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager. Now, Mr. Manager, why do I have in mind that this was going to be an excess of $200,000 to demolish? And now are we down to 85? Is that what I'm thinking?
Mr. Manager.
We have to thank Councilor Leahy for that, because he called us a couple of months ago and said, you know, I think if you advertise now for demolition, you're going to get a much better price than if you wait for the spring. And he was 100% correct. It came in about half of what we anticipated it to be. So kudos to Councilor Leahy to tip us off to that, and we saved that amount of money.
Very good. Congratulations to Councilor Leahy. That's great advice. Saved the city over $100,000. That's great knowledge from being in the field, Councilor Leahy. Thank you very much. But on another note, Mr. Manager, there are cameras on that building through a motion I made approximately 2 years ago at Eagle Park when we had an incident there where there was a stabbing, and there is camera surveillance, which I believe is attached to that building. So could you just please make sure that it remains attacked on another location in that park? We don't want to see that, because it's improved immensely since that surveillance has been in place. So I think that's very important. Thank you very much.
Councilor Elliott.
Kudos to Council Lee. I was wondering if there's a good time of year, if we call to get a house painted, that we get such a good discount. No.
You all set, Councilor Elliott? Council Milonazo.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, who was the lowest responsible bidder? Do you recall?
Is it SNR or S&P?
Well, there is an S&R contracting.
Right, SNR.
They must be if it was awarded, so they must be in good standing, because I know for a while we had some problems with S&R from the standpoint of upkeeping their property and
Yep. Patty
certain
Lecken,
code
would you
issues.
just address that?
they are in good standing. Okay. All right, thank you. Again, not from the standpoint of what we requested in the RFP, but are they from the standpoint of DPW and making sure that their property is clean? And there was at some point, many years ago, issue of real estate taxes on the property. I just want to make sure they're in good standing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? On the motion, roll call.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next is a order to dedicate the intersection of Auburn and Gorham Streets in the city of Lowell for the Joseph D. Simino Memorial in honor of Joseph D. Simino. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full reading and go to the second reading, designating the intersection of Auburn Street and Gorham Street in the city of Lowell, the Joseph D. Simino Memorial in honor of Joseph D. Simino. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Milonazo. Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, under subcommittee reports, we have a report from the Neighborhood Subcommittee of January 23rd, 2017. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Rob.
Last night at LTC on Central Street, we had a Neighborhood Services Subcommittee meeting along with my colleagues, Council Leahy and Council Samaras. We also had Manager Murphy, Councilor Mercia, Councilor Leary. From the City Administration, I had our Parking Director, Nick Navin, Dave Villette, our Senior Inspector, Superintendent Taylor of the Lowell Police, as well as Lieutenant Crawford, and Marianne Bellotta. Giovanni Baez Rose from the Neighborhood Planning Department was there, along with the board for the neighborhood, Downtown Neighborhood Association. First up, Mr. Mayor, was Lieutenant Crawford, who gave the report on police activity, or crime activity in the area. There was an uptick of disorderly conduct, but that was due to basically 2 nights over the past 30 days. That was Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. Other than that, things were pretty status quo for the month. Superintendent Taylor spoke of the reduction in downtown crime that actually is heading in a positive trend, not only downtown, but also citywide. Marianne Bellotta, our grant writer, talked about a proposal that the city is applying for to target the downtown area. Very similar, Mr. Mayor, to the Byrne Criminal Justice Neighborhood Grant that the city was successful obtaining for the Centerville neighborhood 3 years ago, and everybody does remember how well that worked out as far as beautifying the Centerville neighborhood and bus transportation to the Lowell Boys and Girls Club. For this grant here, some of the ideas involved are increased lighting of the downtown, beautification of including flower pots, plant some green areas, also an increased police presence in the area if the city is successful with the grant, and the last couple of things that were probably the most positive of the proposal was the possibility of murals in the downtown area, as well as of a redesign of Kerouac Park. And obviously, downtown input would be included if the grant was successful. Mill City Grows also has a spot in the grant, and Councilor Mercia's suggestion, activities for the transitional center, the Lowell shelter, was also added to the proposal. Manager Murphy spoke next, gave a city review of the downtown, the 90% occupancy rate of first floor businesses. One of the concerns that was brought up was a better access to Western Ave and to Mill Number 5. Dave Ouellette, our senior inspector, spoke of how the department is weekly walking out to alleyways, checking for cleanliness and any kind of negative behavior. Sidewalks, icicles on buildings after a storm and so forth. Last up, Mr. Mayor, was Nick Naven, our parking director, who gave an overall positive report on the update of the garages and they're being repaired. And the one concern that Mr. Naven received was the availability of festival parking for the residents of downtown. All those questions and concerns were answered by the city administration. The meeting was well attended, well run by the manager and his team, and the neighborhood association was very thankful that we came last night. That's my report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on the report? Not, the chair would entertain a motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Councilor Samaras, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. I skipped over the communication regarding the constable bonds. The city manager is requesting approval for a constable bond for Raymond Lammy, Jared P. Riccardi, and Manuel Barros.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Counselor Samaras.
Yes.
Counselor Belanger.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Leary.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next on the petitions, we have one property claim. Chair would entertain a motion to refer to the Law Department for report and recommendation. We have a motion by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Under miscellaneous, we have Andy Jacobson, the president of Cool, requesting an overhanging sign at 122 Merrimack Street. Chair would entertain a motion to refer to the Law Department for a report and recommendation by Councilor Samaras, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, under miscellaneous, we have Geary and Geary LLP on behalf of Kevin and Debbie Fernandez requesting to extend the LI Light Industrial Zoning District to include 25 Only Ave. Chair would entertain a motion to refer to the Law Department to draft an ordinance.
So moved.
So moved by Council Leahy, seconded by Council Leary. Discussion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next,
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
I do want to ask a question on it.
Okay.
Do we know what the owners want to do with this property? Because they want to change it to probably LI, what's that, light industrial? What do they want to do? I mean, I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, I'm just wondering what's happening there.
They want to use it for storage.
Oh,
In order to use it for storage, they have to be in that zone. And so that's why they're looking. And the purchase and sales agreement that we executed with them said that if they couldn't get the zoning changed to storage, then it would revert back to us. So that's why they're
so
doing it.
under the TMU zone, it couldn't be used for that purpose?
No,
I didn't realize it.
yeah. So that's why. And the purchase and sales agreement that we entered into had this condition in there so that they would be able to use it for
Okay,
storage.
thank you. I
And we
just-
also limited it to storage, because then we didn't want them to get the zoning and then use it for something that wasn't
Sure.
in our
Sure.
best plans. But yeah, that's what it's for.
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, the National Grid is requesting permission to install an underground concrete conduit at 11
Carter Street.
Carter Street. It's right on the staple. If there's no objection, we'll waive the first reading and the chair would entertain a motion to refer this to a public hearing on February 7, 2017 at 7 p.m. A motion to that effect by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next by National Grid is requesting permission to install a new riser pole at 15 Carter Street. The chair would entertain a motion to refer that to a public hearing for February 7, 2017 at 7 p.m. by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next on the City Council motions. The first motion of the evening is a motion by Councilor Samaras requesting that the city manager work with the state delegation and the Registry of Motor Vehicles to establish a kiosk in Lowell that will allow citizens to renew their licenses. Seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Mr. Manager, I think everybody in this chamber knows that if you want to renew your license and you go downtown to the registry, plan to be there for the day. But I've come to realize that many of the registries now in this state having kiosks in their office, or the kiosk could be at the local city hall. There's a kiosk in Wilmington, and I believe it takes up to 15 minutes to renew your license if you want to do something like that. Also, the registry is working with the AAA, and they're working with AAA, for example, in Burlington, and you can go to the AAA office to renew your license or do any other work that you might do at the registry of motor vehicles. So I think, knowing that the state is now doing something like that, I would request that you would you work with the state delegation and the AAA office in Lowell to see if we can bring this program to this city. I mean, the mere fact of being able to have a kiosk in City Hall for people to come in that simply have to renew their license and save them, literally hours of waiting, I think this would be beneficial to our constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is also by Counselor Samaras. Request that the city manager have the proper department paint the base of the water tower on Beacon Street. Seconded by Counselor Rourke. Counselor Samaras.
The motion speaks for itself. It just needs the painting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is by Counselor Leahy. Request that the city manager meet with the Department of Public Works and school officials to establish an action plan regarding heating and air conditioning in the school. Seconded by Counselor Leary. Counselor Leahy.
Thank you. If we could, there was a lot of talk this week, obviously, with the heating systems at Lowell High School and throughout the school district. But what I'm asking is, maybe we could just look at different options. So maybe it's time to go out to private company to take care of this, see what they can offer us. If we needed to hire someone for the city that has the expertise for these, but it's just time that we take a good look at it again and try to see what our options are. So basically, that's what it asks for. Thank you.
Counselor
Just
Leary.
quickly, I think it's a really good motion. I think anecdotally, we know we have 4 HVAC technicians doing about 60 buildings, and I think ultimately, if someone was looking to get an additional one, maybe we need to add people at the end of the day, because we do have a lot of different types of equipment. Well, that might be part of the issue too, so folks are trained in one, but we have other types of equipment that they're not so trained in. But anything we can do to look at that would be of great benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Milonazo.
Thank you. It is a good motion. I don't know if Amoresco would be a company that could also provide us with some information as well, but just on kind of an anecdotal story relative to heat. I was walking by the Sullivan School on Sunday, and again, Granite United Church was in the building. Again, their attendance has fallen way off, but when I was walking by, 3 of the front doors, actually 1 side door and 2 front doors, were actually open. And they were being kept open with a chair. So again, I don't know if it was because it was too hot in the building, or again, it's one thing to be leasing the space, it's another thing to be letting the heat go out of the building for, a couple of hours on a Sunday morning. Plus, from a security standpoint, there was nobody standing at those doors. I could have walked in, anybody could have walked in. So again, I just bring that to the administration in case that's why they were open, and again, being held open by classroom chairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a co-motion by Counselor Leahy and Counselor Samaras. Request that the city manager work with the Division of Planning and Development to provide an economic development plan for the Cabot Market Street area, specifically around the former St. John Dark Credit Union complex. Motion needs no second. Counselor Samaras.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This corridor is important to the city of Lowell. We all know that. And we had asked that the Department of Planning and Development work with the people in that area, and they came up with the federal grant, or the Federal Reserve grant, that's doing a very good study about that area. But I think we have to know what John Dark is doing, what they plan to do, or how this city can facilitate any of the happenings that are going on. So, Mr. Manager, what we're doing is asking you to work, with the John Dark group on the land that they hold, and see if the city can be of service to making this work. Because when we talk about offering opportunity in the Acre area, this is the area that we can bring businesses in. This is the area that can really make this a corridor that the students from the university will want to utilize coming into the city. So whatever you can do and the Department of Planning can do to work with Jean Darc would be appreciated.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Leahy.
Thank you. I just wanted to add that, you know, again, as we go to the neighborhood meetings, we see that the Acre Group is very involved in their neighborhood. So, anything we can do in that neighborhood, these are proud people, proud business owners. They just want to keep the development going, and keep up, you know, and help out the city in any way they can. So with all the buildings that came down, the empty Jean d'Arc buildings now, we're just looking for some answers and where do we think we're going from here, and where's the development gonna go, and how can we keep the neighborhood moving forward. So basically, that's what the motion speaks for. Thank you.
Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a great motion. It's always good to keep the ball rolling there, but things have been going on for some time with the Working Cities Grant Initiative, which is working on many initiatives here in that neighborhood, such as initiatives to give that neighborhood a hand up in regards of economic development, better lighting, working on housing improvements with inspectional services, transportation for these individuals to destinations, in particular Burlington. There's going to be an ongoing conversation about bus routes from the Acre, in particular, to Burlington, because they have a shortage of workforce. So that's been going on. So, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager, if you can include the Working Cities Grant in this response and let the council knows what's going on there in detail, I think is very important, along with the NEMCOG study. The NEMCOG did a recent study of the Merrimack Street corridor as well, and it was very revealing. And it gave indicators of some much-needed zoning changes that they recommended take place up there, which I know the manager's administration is working on. So, great motion, I support it, but the ball is rolling, and this is certainly not going to hurt things that's going on up there. So let's keep talking about it, and that's how we get things done. So, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. Just briefly, this is a good motion. Just through to you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager, planning development was here, but they left. Are they working on such things that was just alluded to by Council Belanger, i.e. rezoning based upon NEMCOG and Working Cities recommendations, and is that corridor, and it is a main corridor, main thoroughfare and link between the university and the city. Is there a plan in place, and has anyone reached out, or has Jean d'Arc reached out to the city about any plans that they have for those parcels of property?
This is rather timely because they did reach out to me this week. They want to come in with, Jean d'Arc wants to come in and meet with me about their plans in this corridor. So that's timely. I know DPD was working, or Development Services was working on zoning issues relative to Merrimack. So this is good timing for it all, because Jean d'Arc will be coming in to meet with me and update me on what their plans are for that particular area. And then I'll be able to report to the city council what they are.
Okay, good. Excuse me, thank you.
Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One quick soundbite that. We have a chairman, Milanazzo chairs the zoning subcommittee, which I'm a member of with Councilor Rourke. And some of those zoning changes that we will be discussed next Tuesday will have to do with the Merrimack Street corridor. So that pertains to that. I just wanted to give Councilor Elliott shed some light on his questions there. So we'll be discussing as early as next Tuesday, zoning changes in the Merrimack Street corridor. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Just as a point of information, I'd just like to point out that a couple of months ago, I had an opportunity, as probably many of you did, to meet with people from Wind Development, and I suggested that site to them, and I would certainly be excited about seeing Wind Development at that site, much more so than I am about seeing their interest in the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. So we'll see how that goes as things go by. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next motion evening is by Council Lay and Council Smash. Request that the city manager report on the status of the stone building located at the corner of Rock and Mount Vernon Streets. Motion needs no second. Who wants to go first? Council Lay.
Thank you. Through you to the manager, this is 251 Mount Vernon. So if we could just get an update on what's happening with that. There's some talk that they may be out of compliance with the use of the original purchase, and there are interested parties in it. if it becomes available, and we just want to make sure it gets developed properly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Samaras. Okay, any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is also by Councilor Leahy and Councilor Samaras. Request that the city manager have the traffic engineer explore feasibility of a four-way stop sign at the intersection of Moody Street and Aiken Avenue. Motion needs no second. Who wants to go? Councilor Samaras.
Okay, this, Mr. Mayor, this motion's been brought up before, and the city engineers did talk about that the type of traffic that goes through doesn't warrant the four-way stop signs. But we've attended a number of those meetings, and different members of the community have spoken about the need of the four-way stop sign and how dangerous it has been for them. Or they've cited different times when something almost did happen. Now, these are people who live in the neighborhood, and I understand we have to comply with certain rules of how many cars use an intersection, what happens, or how many accidents they have or don't have. But this is actually the third meeting that I've attended when this intersection has been brought up. And I think it's time to just listen to the people if possible and do what they request. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? Councilor Leahy.
I just wanted to add the same thing. This has been brought up numerous times, and, you know, we do understand that there are regulations that need to be followed, but the neighborhood is very concerned about it, so with the number of near misses and accidents, and so if we could just take another look.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is also by Councilor Leahy and Councilor Samaras. Request that the city manager have the Department of Public Works repair a parking lot at the Bartlett School. Motion needs no second, so Councilor Leahy.
Sure, the motion basically speaks for itself. The parking lot's in tough shape, and, yeah, and with the slant, the gravel's going down, the water runs down into the property next to it. You know, even when I talked to Commissioner Belgard, it's a good candidate for that mixed gravel use too, so just anything to take care of the problem, but whatever we feel we need to do, but thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Councilor Samaras.
There's also, because of the water runoff, the burn is in disrepair, and that's what's causing water to go into the homes in those areas. It's a slant on the street, so if that can be taken care of, that would ameliorate, you know, a small problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to reiterate that I received a call as well from people on Clear Street. It runs right off from the parking lot, right into their basement whenever there's a flood. It goes right into them. So if you're in the vicinity of the parking lot, maybe they could put a berm or some darn thing to ward off the water and divert it elsewhere, so these people don't have to suffer like this anymore. So I'm glad they brought this motion up. This is a good one. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is by Councilor Leahy and Councilor Elliott. Request that the city manager provide the city council with up-to-date reports and minutes of all meetings pertaining to the construction of the new high school. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Actually, you know, last night we got a lot of information from your office, and so it was very timely. But if we could just, any information that comes out that isn't disseminated to the entire council would be helpful, because sometimes we get those surprise questions on the radio or at home, and people are asking us questions that we don't even have the information on yet. So that, as you brought up last night, the neighborhood meeting, Mr. Manager, you know, we just have to take a back seat for a minute, let the information come in, let the estimates come in, and then we can make some decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Elliott.
Just very briefly, Council Leahy really summed it up quite well. And there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of interest, there's a lot of angst as to the status of this and where it goes, because it affects everybody in the city. So, as Council Leahy's mentioned, that report that we received was very helpful and very informative and covered a lot of base. But to me, we still have to wait for the numbers and the options that we will be given, and then select to get numbers on, and then we'll be able to move forward. But in the meantime, it's good. Anything that we can provide to residents would be helpful. So thank you for that information. I don't know if everybody got it, but it was good.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on this motion? Not all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is by Counselor Leary. Request that the city manager provide an update status for the 2 Lowell loan program report to include the current funding sources and review the feasibility of the Division of Planning and Development to re-engage in funding options. Seconded by Councilor Leahy. Councilor Leary.
It's obviously, it's an initiative by former Councilor Martin. It was a very good one. And just the last correspondence that Mr. McGovern was able to provide me was regarding the DPD was looking into the feasibility of funding. So if we can get a report of the current status, and then if that is possible for DPD to engage in that, that'd be really good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Elliott.
Yeah, I agree. Can we get a report on the success of the program? Because, it was good, meaning when somebody bought and received assistance through block grant or what have you and lived next door, home ownership and then being able to, help someone that's renting in the meantime was those properties are well maintained. So for a very small investment, we cleaned up a lot of properties, so appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is by Councilor Leary. Request that the city manager provide a report regarding the building status located on 156 Wilder Street. Seconded by Councilor Leahy. Councilor Leary.
Just quickly, just if I could get a report, we had a constituent had some issues that have gone on a little bit of time. We get a written report regarding that. That'd be really good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The last motion of the evening is a motion by myself requesting that the well, do you want to take the chair for this?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Last motion of the evening by Mayor Kennedy. Request City Council refer the Lowell House proposal to add a residential component to the Downtown Redevelopment Subcommittee for report and recommendation to the full City Council. Second by Councilor Mercia. Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just put this motion on because I had a discussion recently with representatives of Lowell House, and I can remember talking to representatives of the Lowell House 2 years ago about the same issue and the same proposal. So I think that rather than to just keep it going, that the best course might be to refer it to a subcommittee and let the Lowell House come in and make their case. And maybe they can correct any misconceptions that are out there or that the city council has, and just make their best case, and then let the council vote it up and down, and just, let's just bring it to a head. And that's really all this motion is intended to do. I'm not sure that I would, I'm not sure how I will vote at the end, but I do think that, they deserve a response one way or the other. 2 years is a long time to be pushing the same proposal. And so that's really the point of the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So, Mr. Manager, has Councilor Mayor Kenny's right. I think we've all heard of the proposal, and I have met with Mr. Garr, and I think all of us have as well. Is there a proposal that has been submitted to the city, or is it just a discussion? Do we know, what permits or approvals they need? Because I'm fine with it, but I don't want people at home to think that we've been holding it up, because we certainly have. It's just been a discussion, and it's their ideas that they have been put forth, and maybe some of the pieces are coming together with Lowell House now, but I'm not aware of any formal proposal that has been put forth to the city.
Mr. Manager.
No, the Lowell House just recently submitted a proposal relative to the construction, so there's been no holdup, but I think it's a great idea to refer it to the subcommittee to get, it will help me get a sense from, since the city council sets policy, I'd like to know what the will of the body is as far as proceeding with the plans that they've submitted.
Okay. So it has been submitted as of,
They submitted to me. They showed me what their plans were for the proposal.
okay.
But
So are there any, I mean, outside of, I presume, site plan review, or are there approvals that
well,
they need
there are
from
many
this?
approvals.
there are ma-
They need to get an agreement for parking from the city, because they don't have the parking requirements. They need to go to the Conservation Commission because they're near a waterway. So there are a number of approvals that they need as part of the process. And I think it would be good to get a report from them, and then at least some sense to me as how the council wants me to proceed with the Lowell House.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I can completely remember some time ago, and it was quite a while ago, that I was invited to the Lowell House to review their plans and listen to the whole spiel, and I'm sure all my colleagues were as well. I'm sure many or maybe all of us went at one point or another, and I was very impressed with what they had to present. It is something that is needed in the city. Not only that, they had an idea to make the structure in regards to the environment, like the Jeanne d'Arc Credit Union. They were going to structure their building facade similar to that, so that it wasn't standing out and not being, to the conformity of the whole area there. So I know it's needed. I know they're all prepared, and I don't know how they're going to fare when they go to the different, like zoning and conservation commissions, but it is needed, and I think it's a very, very good plan. But that's specifically, strictly my opinion. I can't speak for anybody else. I can only speak for myself. I was very impressed with it. There are people involved with it that have a proven track record, and I'm talking about Young Ju Choi. Just look at Gorham Street and see what she's done with that building over there. She has another place in Haverhill strictly for veterans. She's got a track record that I can't even begin to tell you. I'm very impressed with that, but that's only me. I'm happy to hear about this, and I hope they present the case the way that I heard it, because I was impressed by it. Thank you.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to be clear that this, I wasn't implying that, that the city was holding this up. But it is, I think everybody knows that they've been floating this plan around for a long, long time. And it seems to me that, rather than go before the full council or continue to have individual conversations with councilors, that the subcommittee is probably the best venue for this, just because I view subcommittees at least as little workshops where there's more of a give and take maybe, because it's a little less formal than the full council meetings. And so to me, that's just it's a good place to air it out. And I think the onus is on Lowell House to make their case. And they seem to be confident that they can, and that they can take care of any of the concerns that people will have. But, that corridor, as we were saying earlier in this meeting, that, part of the discussion was how important that corridor is, because it will be the major link between the university and the downtown. And they will be a prominent property along that corridor. So anyways, the motion just asks that it be sent to the subcommittee so that the subcommittee can listen to what the Lowell plan has to say.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes. That concludes the motion part of the agenda. Next up, the announcements. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. There is an announcement that I would like to make. It was provided by Actors, Inc., and they're going to present a Broadway musical called Mary Poppins. I know it's rather early now. I may bring it up again when time is very near, but it's April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, and it's the Performing Arts Center at Chelmsford High School. And the reason that I'm bringing this up, because I think it's that important. All performances will benefit the Megan's House, and this is a recovery home for women, so I think it's that important, and that is why I'm saying it tickets are pretty reasonable, $25 and up, depending what you can afford. But, that's a very good cause that this is going to benefit the Megan House. I thought I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilman Manazzo.
And thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Council Belanger mentioned earlier that the zoning subcommittee will be meeting next Tuesday at 5:30 to continue the discussions of the proposed changes to the zoning code. We did have a meeting with the Citywide Neighborhood Council about 10 days ago. I appreciate the work of the subcommittee as well as Eric Slagle from the Division of Developmental Services. It was about a 2.5-hour meeting, but I think we accomplished a great deal that night. And I think, again, getting together next week, maybe we'll be in a position to refer it back to the full council to then refer it to the planning board. So, again, thank Council Belanger for bringing it up earlier, but it is next week. I just want to make sure that those from the Citywide Neighborhood Council who are viewing tonight's meeting know that we're meeting next Tuesday, the 31st at 5:30. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other announcements? Since I can't do it myself, can I have a motion to adjourn? Mayor Kennedy? Second by Councilor Samaras. Good night.
Good.